Hi friends, welcome back to KNS Biochemistry. In this video session, we are going to discuss about one of the area of nanobiotechnology. It is nothing but nano machines. We are going to see about these nano machines. What are they? What are all the advantages of these nano machines? We are all know that DNA is a very important genetic material. That is one of the nanomaterial, and we are going to see about nano machines here. Let us start the session.
So what are these nano machines? Nano machines represent one of the most fascinating topics of nanotechnology. Under nanotechnology, nano machines are very advanced, fascinating topic or advanced technology. These tiny devices, they are all small, very too small devices, because the name itself says nano machine. Small tiny device is called nano machines. So these tiny devices provide diverse opportunities towards a wide range of important applications. They have got a lot of important applications, even though they are all very small in size. Ranging from, then we are going to see about different types of nano machines. So we are having two categories of nano machines. One is molecular nanomachines, that is otherwise called biological nanomachines. Then other type is called that is ordinary. See that machines, they are made up of tiny nanoparticles. So here you can see that one example for a biological nanomachine. So the one of the biological nanomachine is DNA nanomachine. So the rise of DNA machines. So how did you get this DNA machines as nanomachines? So in the late 1980s, Dr. Nadrian Seaman, he was relaxing at the campus pub at the New York University. He was just relaxing inside that New York University campus when he noticed a mind-bending woodcut. A mind-bending woodcut depth by, that is MC Escher. With a spark of insight, he realized that he could form similar lattice shapes using DNA. So in a small piece of wood, he found a particular shape, and he got an idea suddenly that why can't we produce that kind of a crystal lattice like structure shape using a DNA molecule. So which would make it a lot easier for him to study the molecule's shape. So more than a decade later, after that 10 years later, his lab engineered the first artificial three-dimensional nanostructure. After that, only three-dimensional nanostructure was artificially created in the laboratory. That three-dimensional nanostructure was a cube, a small cube, a tiny cube made out of DNA molecule. So a cube was made using a DNA molecule. So the field of DNA nanotechnology, from that point onwards, it started. The DNA nanotechnology started when a cube was made by him out of DNA molecule. So from that point onwards, DNA nanotechnology emerged. Then came the DNA revolution. After that only a revolution in DNA came, because why he selected DNA? DNA is a nanoparticle. So that is the advantage. So after this cube formation only, DNA revolution happened. Reading and writing the molecule, that is DNA molecule, from scratch became increasingly cheaper, making it easier to experiment with brand new designs. Additional chemical or fluorescent tags, fluorescent dyes, fluorescent tags are other modifications gave these scientists a direct view of their creations rather than a fringe academic pursuit. DNA origami. So this DNA origami, so that is a very important form of DNA that is used nowadays in DNA nanotechnology. So this DNA origami became accessible to the most labs, and the number of devices rapidly exploded. These devices that can sense these DNA devices, they can do a lot of work, lot of applications. They can sense something, some signal, they can transmit some signal, and they can generate mechanical forces inside the cells. Inside the cell, if you want any mechanical force for the movement of the cellular components, these DNA devices, they helped a lot in generating mechanical forces inside the living cells. So Dr. Salaita said like this: if you put together these three main components of mechanical devices, three important main components of the mechanical devices, like sensing, transmitting, generating mechanical forces, three components of mechanical devices, you begin to get hammers and cogs and wheels, and you can start building nanomachines. So using all these three components, you can develop a mechanical device, like you are developing a mechanical vehicle. So for that you need a hammer, nut, bolt, all these things, wheels, everything. So using all these components, you can construct a machine or a mechanical machine. Similarly, using these three devices, that is nano devices made up of DNA molecules, you can construct a nano machines. That is what Dr. Salaita said. Here you can see one example for a biological machine, that is called a molecular nanomachine, because it is doing a machine movement. So this is the protein, dimer protein, which is there walking to and fro on the microtubule layer. So this is the that is a dimer, 2 subunit protein, and that will be walking to and fro during the contraction of these microtubules. So this is an example for molecular nanomachine. It's a molecular nanomachine. A molecular machine called a nanite or simply nanomachine is a molecular component that produces quasi-mechanical movements, that is input-output movements in response to specific stimuli. That is, if you give some stimuli, it will start moving. So in living system or in biology, macromolecular machines frequently perform tasks essential for life. For example, DNA replication, that is happening inside the cell, replication, duplication of the DNA strand, that is called DNA replication, and ATP synthesis of energy, that is in the form of ATP. So these two are very important life forces happening in all the living cells. So the expression is often more generally applied to molecules that simply mimic functions that occur at the macroscopic level. So the term is also common in nanotechnology, where a number of highly complex molecular machines have been proposed that are aimed at the goal of constructing a molecular assembler. So here you see that this is a molecular nanomachine. It is assembled by molecular small units, assemblers. So this is tubular protein, tubulin protein. This rod is made up of tubulin, alpha and beta tubulin, and this is a alpha beta, that is gamma subunit. That is a microtubular protein which will be moving around that. So it is going to give that is a molecular movement. So this is example for a molecular nanomachine present inside the living cell. So molecular nanomachines can be divided into two broad categories. One is artificial and biological. In general, artificial molecular machines, AMMS, AMMS. They are called artificial molecular machines, refer to molecules that are artificially designed and synthesized, whereas the second type, that biological molecular machines, can commonly be found in nature. They are present in the living system. But artificial molecular machines are not available in the living system. They are artificially designed and synthesized in the laboratory. But biological molecular machines are already found in nature, and they have evolved into their forms after abiogenesis on Earth. That is after the form, that is genesis of life and the other activities of the life. See that these biological molecular machines started doing their work. They were designed and they were formed and they were doing the work. The most complex macromolecular machines are found within cells. That is, they are called biological nanomachines, often in the form of multi-protein complexes. So you can find a lot of multi-protein complexes inside the cell, and they are all molecular machines. Some biological machines are present inside the cell. They are called motor proteins. They will have motor movement, that is mechanical movement. They are also molecular machines. Motor protein, for example, myosin. So myosin is present in the muscles. Similarly, microtubulin, that is a tubulin protein, that is also an example. So myosin, which is responsible for muscle contraction. Kinesin, another protein, which moves cargo inside cells away from the nucleus, along with microtubules. Microtubule movement in the previous diagram we have seen that. Along with microtubules, this kinesin moves. And dynein arm, which moves cargo inside cells towards the nucleus and produces the axonal beating of cilia and flagella. So dynein arm is there in cilia and flagella. So cilia and flagella is useful for the movement or motile nature of the bacteria. So for the movement of anything, cilia and flagella is there. So for that, this dynein arm is very, very important. So in effect, this motile cilium, moving cilium, is a nanomachine. So it is moving. It is showing you mechanical movement. So it is a nanomachine composed of perhaps over 600 different proteins in molecular complexes. 600 different proteins joins together and it makes a molecular complex that is moving as a unit, that gives you motile, cilia and flagella. So many of which also function independently as nanomachines, these proteins. So these flexible linkers allow the mobile protein domains connected by them to recruit their binding partners and induce long-range allostery via protein domain dynamics. So here the domain of the protein is doing a lot of work. So in that domain, movement of the components of the protein will be there. That movement is also done because of these molecular nanomachines. So other biological machines are also having this kind of that is movement. So these biological machines are responsible for energy production, like for example ATP synthesis that is happening in mitochondria, done by ATP synthase. This is a biological machine, ATP synthase enzyme, which harnesses energy from proton gradients across the membranes. That is a proton gradient which occurs in electron transport chain, ETC. So proton gradients across membranes to derive a turbine-like motion used to synthesize ATP, the energy currency of the cell. So still other machines are also responsible for gene expression in the nucleus, including DNA polymerases. DNA polymerases are important for synthesis of DNA strand. RNA polymerases, they are responsible for producing mRNA. Then spliceosome, they are responsible for removing introns, and the ribosome for synthesizing proteins, that is translation process. So these are biological machines. all these biological machines and their nanoscale dynamics are far more complex than any molecular machines that have yet been artificially constructed. So constructing artificial spliceosome, ribosome, DNA polymerase, RNA polymerase, see that they are all very, very difficult because they are having a very complex dynamic nanoscale structure. Nanoscale structure is there, very complex. It is very difficult to understand their movement and function. So here one example. I told you ribosome is involved in translation protein synthesis. So this is nothing but ribosome. This is the ribosome, larger subunit, smaller subunit, white color one. And you see that amino acids are coming here. tRNA brings the amino acid. And you see that this is mRNA. The black color one is mRNA. So mRNA enters inside the ribosome subunits. So now a ribosome is translating a protein. So you see that the message present in the messenger RNA, mRNA, is translated into amino acid sequence. So ribosome is involved in protein synthesis or translation process. So this ribosome is a very complex biological nanomachine which is present inside a cell. So it is a very complex nanomachine. You see, we don't know exactly how these mRNA code sequences are converted into amino acid sequences. That is very, very minutely it is happening there. Because it is a biological nanomachine. You can see another biological nanomachine. Example for another biological nanomachine. Here some biological molecular machines are given here. Molecular machines of life. This is proteasome. Proteasome. So this is a protein nano machine. This is ribosome. The previous picture we have seen same thing. Ribosome. This mRNA is entering inside that. This is mRNA. And the green color one is protein, which is synthesized. In proteasome also, you see that protein, this green color one is amino acid sequence is synthesized. And this is another one is dynein complex, which is present in microtubules or cilia and flagella. This is one of the nanomachine, a biological molecular nanomachine. So all the three are examples for molecular biological nanomachines. And this is another biological nanomachine, but this is not a protein nanomachine, it is a DNA machine. Here it is DNA molecule. This is the one strand of the DNA, another that is in another DNA molecule. So Z to B conversion, here B to Z conversion. So DNA can be interconvertible between Z form and B form. So that interconvertibility of B to Z or Z to B happens because of the movement of this DNA molecule, because it is a biological molecular nanomachine. So an ion triggered DNA, an ionic voltage happens or potential difference happens, it triggers the DNA molecule. So that DNA rotatory machine, this is a DNA rotatory machine based on BZ conformational transition. The motor consists of two DNA double crossover. So here is that two DNA double stranded DNA double helix is there. So that DNA double crossover molecules, and at the center of the connecting helix is a 20 nucleotide region of proto-Z DNA. Here proto-Z DNA. Okay, that is shown in yellow color. So this portion and here this portion, yellow color, that is called that is a 20 nucleotide region of the proto-Z DNA. Then fluorescent dyes, fluorescein, that green color one, this green color, that green color one, and CY3 magenta color. Here you can see the magenta color is there. So that CY3 are attached to the free hairpins near the middle of the molecule. When the transition occurs, the two DX molecules change their relative positions and the separation of the dyes happens. So when they change the separate position, B DNA will become Z, Z DNA will become B. So that interconvertibility will be there. This is another biological nanomachine, but it is not a DNA nanomachine. it is a nanomachine which is made up of protein. So this is a living cell. Inside the cell you can find this protein, small protein, a nanoprotein, and if you enlarge that structure, this is the three-dimensional structure of that protein, which is having atoms like this. So biologists who study the function of protein nanomachines isolate these complexes. This is the protein complex isolated from the cell. Isolate these complexes outside the cell in the test tubes, and then apply in vitro techniques that allow them to observe their structure down to the atomic level. Alternatively, they use techniques, some other techniques that allow the analysis of these complexes within the living cell, but that give little structural information. So here you see that they have directly observed the structure and functions of the protein machinery in living cells, because directly you can study if you know the atomic arrangement of these machines. So direct study, analysis or research, doing research is very simple. So so far we have seen some of the examples for biological nanomachine. Now we are going to see what are all the applications of these biological nanomachines. What are all the places where they are applied, application part of the biological nanomachine. These biological nanomachines might have applications in nanomedicine. In nanomedicine, they are having a very important role, that is delivering a drug to a target cell, a diseased cell. So that is called nanomedicine. In that nanomedicine, these biological machines are highly useful. For example, they could be used to identify and destroy cancer cells. They can target the cancer cell, they can identify the cancer cell, they can destroy it. That power is there to these biological nanomachines. So molecular nanotechnology is a speculative subfield of nanotechnology. The subfield of nanotechnology, molecular nanotechnology, where it will tell you how to target a cancer cell or any diseased cell. So subfield of nanotechnology regarding the possibility of engineering molecular assemblers. So biological machines which could reorder matter at a molecular or atomic scale level. Nanomedicine would make use of these nanorobots. So nanorobots are formed, they are used for nanomedicine purpose. These nanorobots introduced into the body to repair or to detect damages and infections. Molecular nanotechnology is highly theoretical, seeking to anticipate what inventions in nanotechnology might yield and to propose an agenda for future inquiry. The proposed elements of molecular nanotechnology, such as molecular assemblers and nanorobots, are far beyond current capabilities.
Dear friends, in this video session we have seen about nanomachines. They are the small nano devices. They are constructed for various purposes, and we have seen about biological nanomachines are already available in the living cells, and the importance of these biological nanomachines and the small nano devices. They are called as nanomachines. Hope you have understood well. I'll be coming back with you in the another video session. Until then, it is bye from KNS Biochemistry. Thank you very much. Namaskar.